Alright guys, in this chapter you're going to learn about the first Europeans to settle the Americas. So we're going to take a look at 4 different European nations. The Spanish, the French, the English, and the Dutch. So they all are going to explore for different reasons and colonize for different reasons. But the Spanish, probably most of you are most familiar with Christopher Columbus. And we know that he sailed the ocean blue in 1492. But there was also Hernando Cortez, and he sailed in 1519. Cortez is going to go down more towards the Mexico area, whereas Columbus, we know, hit the Caribbean. But neither one stepped foot on what is known as the continental United States of America. So Columbus, he is going to, as I said, go down to the Caribbean, and he brings with him enslaved Africans to harvest and to work the land. And that's not the only thing, though, that they brought. He's going to give the name to an exchange between Europe and the natives, and that exchange is called the Columbian Exchange. Though there are some good things about the Columbian Exchange, whether it's exchanging animals and food and ideas, we also have an exchange of disease. And disease is going to wipe out a large portion of the native population because they were not immune to the European diseases. So it's going to wipe out, like I said, a very, very large portion of the native population. The Spanish that settled in the Mexico region, the Central America region, are going to venture up into, I guess, kind of the southwest of America. And one of the things that they're going to do there is they're going to set up missions, and they're going to be missionaries. And they're going to try to convert the Native Americans to Christianity. Now the French are very unique in that they're going to lay claim to what is modern day Canada. So all of that area up north, and as well as the Louisiana territory. So what is Louisiana is going to stretch all the way from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to Canada, and that's why even down in New Orleans we have the French Quarter. So some of the culture and things have stuck around even to modern day, and so we see a lot of influences from France, whether it's language, food, culture, that are going to be in present day New Orleans. Now the French are, like I said, the reasons for being here are going to be very different. They're not here to farm. Their concerns are more about trade and fur trapping and things along those lines. And they're not really interested in settling these large settlements. And they're going to be very different from Spain as well as from England. Now, let's talk about England. England is going to lay claim to the area due to John Cabot's voyage in 1497. So the English are going to start a colony. They're like, well, we know this area, which is kind of like the Virginia area. We know that that's the direction that John Cabot took. So let's take a look at that particular spot and let's start a colony there. So they start the colony of Roanoke. And one of the interesting things about Roanoke is that it completely disappears. And we have no idea why. And it disappears really without a trace. Some guys go back to get more supplies for the colony, and when they get back to Roanoke, it's gone. And there are only 2 things left from the entire colony. No buildings, nothing, not even a body. And the 2 things that are left are the word crow and the second word, Croatoan. One is carved into a post, the other one's carved into a tree. Now, interestingly enough, we don't have either one today. We have no idea. These are just based on records that the individuals that came back, what they found, they journaled about it. So we don't have the post, we don't have the tree, both are gone. And Croatoan was the name of a Native American tribe that was located near Roanoke. So we don't know if the people were leaving a message that said, hey, this is where we went. Or if, hey, these are the guys that attacked us and killed all of us. We have no idea. So it's still a mystery even to this day. But the next spot that they set up a colony is Jamestown. That's the first permanent settlement in the continental United States. And Jamestown is very interesting because one of the first structures that they decided to build when they got there was a church. And then just recently, and this is one of the great things about studying history because you learn new things all the time. History is not completely done. Even though it happened in the past, we still learn brand new things. So just recently, like last week, the Smithsonian announced that there were 4 bodies that were dug up. They found the skeletons and they evaluated, the remains, and they said, okay, these are 4 leaders of the Jamestown colony. And of these 4 leaders, one of them was a Catholic. Now, for those of you that remember from last year, being a Catholic in England, not a good thing. Because the Church of England broke away from the Catholic Church because King Henry VIII wanted a divorce. Pope said no. So the king said, fine, I'll start my own church and I'll get a divorce anyways. So being a Catholic in England was not common at all. And let alone to have one travel to America and then help settle the colony. So it's really interesting that we can, not excavate, but to really dig into the ground and figure out, who these people were, how did they live, and like I said, we're learning new things even today. So that's England. That's England's claim on America. Now we have the Dutch, who are from Netherlands, and they established a foothold in North America by founding the colony of New Netherlands. And the English, this doesn't go over real well with them, so they drive them out and they say, we're just going to rename this New York. So there you have it. That's the Dutch in a nutshell. Now, you'll also see that the Dutch are going to lay claim to the area of Pennsylvania, which is why we still see some influence today of the Dutch, even in Pennsylvania, and people speak what's called Pennsylvania Dutch, which would remind you a lot of German. So that's the Dutch for you. Now, there you have it, a brief overview of what we're going to be studying in this particular unit. And now it's going to be your turn to take a deeper look at why and how the early Europeans explored and established colonies in the Americas. Now, make sure to come to class tomorrow with additional information that helps to address that particular question of how and why, and as well as notes from this particular presentation. And we're going to be able to use that to drive our conversation in class, and we're also going to use that information to help guide your project as well. So you're going to work together with this, but come to class prepared, because the more prepared you are, the more beneficial class will be. So see you tomorrow.